You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live. And we have one of those amazing educators here with us, Agnieszka Wood. How are you doing today, Agnieszka?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Howard, for this fantastic introduction. I'm happy to be here as always.
And as everybody knows, Agnieszka is our trading mindset coach here at Quasar Markets, keeps us all sane when the world is insane. How are you doing that these days?
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the, in a waiting mode, just to kind of see what happens and to stay sane, not engaging too much in the craziness, and yeah, just really focusing on a long-term view, looking at like when is the right moment to actually step back into it, because so far it has been, like we're going nowhere pretty much.
Yeah, you asked me before we came on when we're going up, and my philosophy, as I told you, is not anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's just too unpredictable. The tweet, I was talking earlier with Dr. Alan Ellman, and what we were discussing was, the fact that every day you got to weigh sort of things, and you weigh your technical analysis versus your fundamental analysis versus tweet analysis, so to speak, or current events. And right now it is 80% tweet analysis.
Right.
And that's the problem, is that it is so outweighted, where maybe before tweet analysis was 10 to 20% of my weighting on what I would do. Is, you really got to be, as you said, very, very high conviction in whatever you're trading right now.
Yeah, and I think right now what I also notice by talking to traders is, that there is that the uncertainty level is just simply so high that there is, like, it's hard to have a conviction, because in order to have a conviction, you usually make thesis, but right now it's like a moving sand. Like, how do you build your thesis if you are 80%, as you say, on the moving sand?
Yeah, no, you're right. And what I noticed is, as I was out and about over the weekend and talking to friends and stuff, people aren't asking me what stocks to buy right now. They're asking me, when is the market going to start to turn around, or things like that. When are rates going to go down? When's the DXY? When's the US dollar going to regain strength? It's more macro questions than what I normally hear, which is, what's going on with NVIDIA, what's going on with Bitcoin, what's going on with whatever it might be. And I think that's a general market change too, in attitude.
Yeah, I think the change of focus from, like, okay, let's look for a good setup. Let's look at the, certain equities, like whatever instrument you trade. It's more the overall direction, right? Like, is it, and that's what I'm saying. It's, I think that the level of uncertainty kind of brings people more to look for what is going to happen, instead of what is actually happening on the chart, which, for a day trader, is a kind of a dangerous way to go about it, because as a day trader, you need to look at the chart. You need to be focused on what is it that's in front of you, and not pay attention too much to the global economy. And, it's like just focus on the chart. But in the current conditions, it's not really easy to do that, and you have to be very disciplined to actually stick to your strategy and not get swayed by, oh my God, what if in 3 seconds there will be a tweet and everything dumps, right? Like, how secure, how certain can I be of my trade?
Right. And will it withhold or withstand that tweet? Well, one of the things that we're advising people is, this is the time that you should spend honing your craft and, getting together wish lists and getting better at reading charts and looking into fundamentals. And that comes up with perfect timing with something you have going on this week.
Yes, so I have a free masterclass for traders who are struggling to stick to their plan, because I think this is a really a perfect moment, as you say, um, to start noticing what is it that is coming up when you are in these conditions. And a lot of traders who have started maybe 2 years ago, they have never experienced a market like this, right? I mean, we haven't experienced the market like this either,
Right. I was
because
about to say
there's
is
a lot
unlike
of
what we normally,
uncertainty.
yeah, no, I was about to say, unlike what we normally say, which is, well, this was like what COVID, 2020 was like, or this was
Right,
what 2009 was like, or this was what 1999 and the dot-com bubble. You have to go back to the 70s, and there aren't many that are still trading that were trading in the 70s. I wasn't even
right,
in school at that point. So, I definitely wasn't trading yet. Maybe
right.
jelly beans with my friends.
Right. So the class is really meant for traders who have been trading for some time. They know exactly what to do. They have a strategy, but they simply cannot get themselves to execute it. There is too many emotions coming in between. They are trying to force themselves to do what they know what they should do, but it simply isn't working. And the more pressure they put on themselves, the worse it gets. So I really encourage you guys, if you're watching this, to join the class. I mean, it's completely free, and you will get a lot of value to even um, to understand why is it what you're doing, how you're trying to fix the problem, why is it not working, right? Everyone commonly knows that discipline is important in trading, but somehow traders are pushing themselves to stay disciplined, and a lot of times they come to me and say, I don't know what happened, something just took over. And there I was. That
Yeah.
my trade just completely went south, and I lost all the money, and I kept clicking the buttons, and I knew I shouldn't be doing it, but I was doing it. So how do you actually can stay disciplined without forcing yourself to be disciplined? And that's what I'm going to be talking about during this class, as well as I will share a four-step process that I use in my paid program, the Rise Up of the Profitable Trader,
Right.
that helps traders to trade with confidence, with consistency, and self-control. So a lot of value. I would say go to Trading Mindset masterclass.com and register. Um, I look forward to
Absolutely. I
seeing you
mean, I
there.
couldn't recommend it more. First of all, any free tool that you can add to your tool chest right now, you should be taking advantage of that. Agnieszka does amazing work. If you go, I was just scrolling down the bottom and looking at some of the recommendations and things that you have. And I know because I've seen it when you come and talk to me and you talk about the success that one of your students has just had, or a meeting that you just got
Right.
out of with student XYZ. And man, they were struggling, and now they've got 5 traded funder accounts, and they're doing so great. And it really is, you take a lot of pride in what you do. You not only that, you spend a lot of time honing your craft. You've spent a lot of time in the last year working with other professionals in the field, right?
Right.
Sort of, collaborating, and that's what's great about this type of timing. When it comes to things, is that
Yeah.
it's not a joke when we say traders. This is where you really want to, take this time where maybe you don't feel comfortable yet as a newer trader, to get better at trading, to learn the different tools that those of us that have been doing this for 20 or 30 years have, because we've acquired these skills over time, whether it be through, the war stories or through, classes of ourselves. And I do think it's very
Right.
important to, your mindset, especially in these times. I see so many traders, like I said, that the view has gone from asking me, what stock should I trade? What should I buy today? To when is the market going to turn? To, what is going to happen to my 401k? It's really changed the tide of what it is. So people's mindset are definitely at some of the, sentiment is terrible. And it isn't as bad as sentiment is out there. Let's face it. The world isn't ending.
Yeah.
It feels like it is, but it really isn't.
Yeah, and I think that in times like this, it's very easy to get confused about what is it that it's not working. And also having that pressure of, okay, wait a minute, so the market is in a way that I cannot actually use my strategy because I can clearly see it's not working. How am I going to make the money? Right. And getting into that urge and being rushed and pushed into transactions that you shouldn't be taking. So staying disciplined in those moments is even more important than ever, especially if the market is choppy and there is not much that you are able to execute on. So taking the time and realizing that there are always two components to it, right? There is your strategy, and if something is not working, it might be the strategy that it's not working with these conditions, or it might be that, um, or the second component, that you are not able to execute that strategy, right? And everyone wants profit consistency, and it takes two elements to it: profit and consistency.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you can do it. So if you are making profit already, that means that your strategy is working. You have something with positive expectancy and you are actually able to make profit. But if you keep giving it away, then there is something else in the other area that you are not able to do. So you are not able to create that consistency. So that's the area you need to work on. And unfortunately, the majority of traders is only looking at the strategy component
Right.
and hoping for profit consistency,
Hope is not a thing.
completely forgetting about the other component that is actually making that profit consistency impossible, because they only going for the profit part, right? I need a strategy, I need a good strategy, I need another indicator, and it's all good, you can test it, and you might have the best strategy ever, you've tested it and you know it's working, but if you cannot make it consistent, there is no profit consistency possible, because it takes two to tango.
Yes, absolutely. It's the chicken or the egg, right? What comes first, your profits or your consistency? You need to get both of them, and it's consistent profits that are important in this,
Exactly.
minimizing your losses. And that's what, you spoke of a couple of things in there that I think are important. If you're trading the same way today that you traded 2 months ago, then you're not going to succeed, because markets change and the market environment has changed. And where before you
Right.
could leave things open for days on end, sometimes to wait for your thesis to play out, if you're trying that today, there's no other way to say it, you're going to fail. It isn't there. You can look at even the best of stocks, nothing's moving in one direction right now. It's a bi-directional. And if you don't understand how volatility plays in it, we just had Dr. Elman on, and he was talking about in his, he's changed the whole way that his strategy works right now. Luckily, with 30 years of experience in the blue collar investor, they have ways to trade all the different markets. And he said, right now for him, it's selling much more out of the money puts than it is anything else. He's
Right.
taking advantage of volatility, and because he's more of a risk averse trader, and he's a more conservative trader, and that's what he's doing to do it. And he's saying, I have a choice. I either have to give up a little bit of premium that I would normally get, if I normally wanted to make, let's say, on a monthly, a 2 to 4%, I might have to settle for a 1%, APR, but it's
Right.
but he's taking risk into the factor where volatility plays out now, and it's different than it was. So, it's that, like I said, it's very important that everyone understands you can make great money in the market the way it's trading right now. There are lots of people doing it. We're telling you some of the ways to do it, but you have to adjust both external and internally. And I think that's where
Yeah.
you come in, is understanding how to, the internal part of that is that, again, if you sort of had weak hands, so to speak, but were trading somewhat successfully 2 months ago, you're probably crashing and burning right now, because at the first time a tweet comes out, you can't hit that sell button fast enough. And usually the first reaction is the wrong reaction, is what I say.
Right. You don't want to be reactive for sure, impulsive in any way. And I think you touch upon a really important thing, is that yes, if the strategy is working for other people, right? You see other people and they're all banking. It doesn't mean it will work for you. And that's the part where a lot of times is overlooked. It's like, will I be able to make that work? Will I, like, I'm a different person than anyone else, right? And I, like, if you have no discipline to execute the plan every time the same way, or anyway, to at least even simple things like taking a loss,
Yep. Well, and
that is
portfolio
not going to
allocation,
work.
I can tell you from my years at Prosper Trading, where I had thousands of students, is part of the problem would they wouldn't follow the rules, so to speak. So they liked the strategy that I had, but they didn't like our rules, which were, you should only put between 2 and 4% in any trade, never more than 5%
Right.
of your portfolio. And people wouldn't do that, and they would be trading 50% of their portfolio in it. And then they'd say, well, your strategy doesn't work. No, the strategy actually does work, but you're not trading the actual strategy because you're
Yeah, and that's
trying
where
to
the
do
discipline comes in, right?
it.
And even like if you say the rules, like there's this natural thing that people have is they don't like rules.
Yeah,
Nobody likes rules. We don't want to stick to rules. And it's almost like we believe that rules are bad for us, right? And that is not really surprising because the way that most people have learned discipline is not like a positive thing, right? It's a
right,
negative reinforcement. So when you hear the rules, it activates your nervous system in a way that you start resisting it. So if you have the rules that you have to stick to it, and you don't understand that those rules are actually there to protect you, that they are in your best interest, you will resist them. But it
right,
is not telling yourself, oh, those rules are there for me, because that doesn't work. That's the whole point. If there are deep rooted beliefs that you have about the rules, about discipline, about what is in your best interest, which is very different between life and the market,
sure,
then you are not going to follow what you say you should do. And that's why most traders do not stick to their trading plan because they tell themselves, I know I should and I need to follow my trading plan, but everything at the back on the subconscious level is working against it. And then they're like, yeah, but I don't understand why I don't do it. Well, I do because your programming is telling you not to.
right,
And unless you change that, unless you allow yourself and take time to look at that and say, wait a minute, oh, so I'm actually working against myself. I'm telling myself one thing, but then do other thing. It is not because I'm stupid or there's something wrong with me. No, your programming is not compatible with what you are trying to achieve. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in the free masterclass.
that is fantastic because it's so important. Your strategy has to align with your inner sort of self. And it's I see it all the time with different traders in different ways, and it can be something as simple of I have friends who just are just absolutely adamant that if they put in a trailing stop, that someone's hunting them down to get to that trailing stop. And you know what? Computers do. There are algos out there. There is no doubt.
Yeah,
But for me, it's part of my trading strategy is you have to have these stops and these take profits in place. And they have to be automated because the market works 24/7 when it comes to crypto and we can't. And,
right.
there are these things, but I have people that don't. And then they try to use the system. And I said, and then inevitably something happens at 3 a.m. while they're asleep and they're really upset the next morning. And you're like, well, you just got to understand you've got then my system is not going to work for you because I'm what we call a set it and forget it trader, where my
Right.
rules and the ways my strategy set up is that when we enter a trade, there is 2 take profits and there is a stop loss. And it's set up to follow this. And if you don't, then you're not going to have it because you're going to burn out your allocation, your portfolio,
Right.
before you get enough winners to actually be successful.
Right. It's a little bit like driving a car, right? You say, okay, I want a driver's license, and you buying a car, and then you say, but I don't want to obey all those rules. I don't want to. I'm just not gonna do it. So then you drive on the street, you go through traffic lights, you do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then yeah, eventually you're gonna crash into
Yeah,
something or someone is gonna crash into you and you cannot be surprised about it and you will have to pay. It's like it's not a rocket science, really.
Yeah,
Very
no,
logical.
I have a guy that's a new trader that's a friend of mine, and he's doing really well in general. But he'll point to, oh, I had to take my wife to the airport, and that's when I lost this day, and I had something I had to do this day, and that's why I lost. Well, then either A, you shouldn't be in a trade, or B, you should have it automated. Don't point to that was the mistake was on the market for moving while you weren't
Right.
ready for it to move. Understand that the market always moves, and you need to be prepared.
Right. Right. So it's like, oh yeah, I was in a hurry, so I just drove through a traffic light.
Yeah. No. Yeah,
And I got a ticket. Yeah. Yeah. I can feel bad for you. I mean, you kind of know what's going to happen if you do that, right? And yeah, you can say it wasn't my fault because I was. You can think of all kinds of excuses, but it really doesn't matter because the only person that you hurt is you.
Right.
So
And
if you are okay with that, if you are okay hurting, be my guest. But how long how long will you be able to sustain that? Not just financially, but also physically, stress wise, and how is
yeah,
it going to impact
emotionally,
your whole life?
physically, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And it's true is, we lie to ourselves sometimes about, no, I do like this, or it is the way, but you can tell, like, you're happy or you're not, the results
yeah,
don't determine whether the system works for you or not. And what I mean there is,
yeah.
again, if you spent the whole day with your holding on like for dear life in the roller coaster, then maybe it's not for you, because that might work today and tomorrow, but you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke, in the next year, and that's not going to win either.
Right, right. I think I mentioned to you once someone wrote me a message that they have been highly successful in trading over the last year and made so many percentage, but they slept 3 hours a day and they were drinking 10 coffees a day, and that was holding them through. And I'm like, well, all the best of luck to you.
Right. My
It's not
system,
about just today.
yeah, because that's not right, exactly. But that's it. Is we do get people that's it. I've seen it over the years in crypto. So many people burn out because it is 24/7, and now we're moving further and further into that in the stock market every day.
Yeah,
You have to have that balance. It's one of the things that you preach in your classes. Again, I can't
yeah.
suggest enough that you sign up for her free. I will use that word again, free masterclass. Agnieszka gives you great information, great worksheets, great, like, everything. She gives so much stuff away to traders that you can use, that I use on a daily basis. I had gotten away a little bit from my habit tracker for a little bit as I was sort of adjusting all my stuff, but I got right back into it. So feel much better now that I got back into
Good,
it.
good.
But I do think
Yeah,
it's important,
yes, and I like, just speaking of balance. Just this morning, I mean, it's Monday morning, and like one of my students literally wrote me at like 10 past 9, and she said, "Yeah, I had a really good trade this morning, and I think I'm done for the day." I'm like, "What a way to start your week, right?"
Yeah,
On Monday,
absolutely.
even before the market opens, you're already good, and you have the power, the willpower, and the discipline to walk away, because she said, I have things to do today, and this was my plan, and I executed my plan, and I'm good for today. Just having, and without really forcing it, without pushing yourself. I think that that urge for people to be so addicted to the market, um, that is what takes people's freedom away,
Yeah, no, it
while they
does. It
trading to get freedom.
Yeah, we do this so we have more free time. And in fact, I see my girl Zora. Hey, Zora, thanks for chiming in there on the comments. It's there you go. And she's saying she has a one and done rule, no more than 3 trades. Yeah,
There you go.
and I can tell you, Zora was a person that used to over trade a lot. She's part of my Prosper crew, the crypto crew from
Awesome.
back in the
Hi,
day,
Zara.
and and it took her a lot to try to learn that. And it's part of, we evolve as traders, and you have to understand what you're trading in front of you, the market's in front of you, and we grow. And like I said, is this is the type of time. These markets aren't for everybody. And what they, when I say that is the volatility. And if you're not, if you're a swing trader, it's very hard to trade right now. If you're a long-term trader, I think there's great value out there for people if you can pick the right stocks and have that mindset of looking a year, 2 years down the road, not in days and weeks. And scalpers are having a heyday. I'm sure your traded funder people are very happy because volatility is off the charts, especially in that first hour. So there's room there. But for the rest of us that maybe are swing traders, take this time, like I said, look at the new trading platforms like Quasar Markets that are out there. Learn the tools that we have for you out there, because I think you'll be very impressed with those. Also take a look at all of the educators that we bring in on a daily basis here, and all of the free things that they're offering right now. It's that time of the year where everybody's sort of at the end of the first quarter. We did our sprint, we got through tax season, and now a lot of us as educators are saying, okay, we want to now, spend a little bit, we got a little bit more time. We've done our, this and that, and now we have it. So take advantage of this. Take advantage of this time, to get better, at your approaches for everything. And part of that would be at your inner mind and your trading mindset that Agnieszka spends so much time, teaching and it's so, I've seen it in myself since you've been working with me over the last 6 months, where I have a calmness that I didn't have when it comes to certain things. And I've also learned the days where what sort of, like I said, off of my habit tracker, I didn't sleep well last night and I didn't have a good breakfast yet. And I'm rushed because I'm doing this stuff at Quasar. I'm not going to trade this morning.
Yeah, because it all works together.
I can't do it. I can't keep up some days. So, it's hard to
it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery that stress and, if you don't sleep well, that this is going to affect your cognitive function. And the more stress you have, the more emotional you will be. There's a direct correlation between stress and triggering emotions. So it's like you're not a robot, and you have to understand that you are not. Even though you want to be, you are not. And you have to respect how your body functions, and you can absolutely expand your potential of your body and of your abilities. But it doesn't happen just by wishful thinking. That happens by awareness. That happens by intentional actions. And that's something that, that only people who are really serious about their success are doing. So if you are serious about your success, just consider that success is a result of intentional actions and not of wishful thinking.
Right. Absolutely. That's it. We it's funny how every trader has, or every educator has, a different way they say it. And, like Steve Big Beat always says, hope is not a trading strategy, as you said, wishing. I've heard you use the word wishing a lot, where Steve uses hope. I say gambling. We never use the word double down. We can cost the average. But as soon as you start saying I'm doubling down, you put your mindset is this is a gamble. It's no longer an actionable trade, in my opinion. As Zora just pointed out, if you don't have that trading mindset before you open the charts, you're going to come in with a preconceived notion that's going to set you up incorrectly for your day. That's it. Also, if I wake up and I'm in a bad mood already, right, and I come in and I'm in a bad mood, sometimes no charts look good to me. Everything's garbage, So if that's the way it is, go walk your dog, go play fetch, go hug your wife, whatever it is that makes you happy.
Go and take a nap. I always say go and take a nap, because, and my students are laughing about it, but from the neurological perspective, if you go and take a nap, your brain literally resets. So it is.
I'm a big proponent of naps. My wife is not.
Absolutely.
They're so important to life.
I could never understand, speaking of relationships, I could never understand, like in the past when I had, when we had some differences with my husband, at that time, my boyfriend, when we were still like kind of, trying to find our way. And we had some differences. Sometimes after a confrontation, he would go and take a nap. And I could not understand how he's even able to do it. And now I'm saying to people, like, when something is not right, when you are in a bad mood, or where you can't figure something out, or when you are irritated, just go and take a nap.
Yeah, I love it. I love naps, so that works for me. Wait till I tell Big Beat that that's what I'm doing every day. Is I gotta go take my nap. Agnieszka scheduled for me. So expect some nasty emails from Steve in the few coming weeks. But no, it is so true. It's it's finding that happy place. We joke about it, but like it is finding that spot where you can reset. And some of us can't do it. Some you can't do it midstream. So so many people think they can. Okay, I've had a tough morning, but I'm ready now. I've just had my Diet Coke, and I'm prepared, and now I'm calm.
Right.
No, you're not. Take the time.
Yeah. Maybe you think you are, but what does your brain think?
Yeah, no, exactly right. It is. If
it's interesting. There has been actually a research where they have measured activity of your brain, and they were measuring the moments where people actually felt that they are relaxed and that they are calm, and they were showing that the activity of the brain wasn't at all. It was actually still showing at the stress. So the moment that we think that we are calm, it's not always the real calm for your brain. So it takes a certain routine and it takes a certain time for your brain to actually be in that state where you are neutral.
Well, and you've mentioned before, I forget the number. How many thoughts do we have a day?
So we have like 70,000 about, which makes it like 48 a minute. So, and most of it is
I think I'm low on the activity level personally, but yeah, I mean, when you think about that, and it's so true, is that just think about just the amount of thoughts that are going through, like you said, and the neurons and everything that's clicking. And just because you have some people that will take their pulse and say, well, now my pulse, well, that just means your heart rate went down. It doesn't mean your neurons stopped working, right?
Your brain is always working, it's always active. I mean, otherwise all the functions of your body would stop if your brain wasn't working, right? But it is about that part of your brain that is actively being used to, that's actually a part of your nervous system that need to be appeased to put into, so you have fight or flight response, or you have the rest and digest, right? So if you're constantly in that fight or flight response where you are on high alert, your brain is gonna function very different. Your cognitive functions are gonna be much more impacted than when you give it a break. And sleep is one of the biggest moments where your brain has a chance to recover and recoup and reprocess all the information that everything that has happened during the day. Another thing that is really important that happens during your sleep is neuroplasticity. So those new neural connections that are being made is actually happening while you are asleep. So your sleep, your proper good sleep and a right amount of hours is important for your functioning during the day and for establishing new habits. So it's great that we want a lot, but we also have some sort of physical, I don't want to say limitations, but some conditions that we have to be aware of so that we can actually work for us and not against ourselves from that perspective.
Yeah, that is so true, so important there, because a lot of times we do work against ourselves, as you've said. So, well, I've manipulated too much of your time as it is already today. Agnieszka, thank you so much. We will have you back on Wednesday, like always, and follow up. Oh, wait, Wednesday, are you able to come?
I have the class, so we'll see each other next Monday.
Okay, so Wednesday
I want to put my full attention on
at
the class.
The master class. So I'm going to sign up right now myself.
Awesome.
So I will see everybody there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and see you there. Thank you. Bye, Howard.